Leanne and Adelaide back with another garden project. We went to a place called Palm Plantation in Cavan in Adelaide, and it wasn't that far away from where we live, probably only 20-30 minute drive. And this is what we bought. So we've got this palm here, which is a bungalow palm, and we're going to put it in amongst some other bungalow palms. So these are the ones that have already been there for a while. Got that one there, which is our biggest one, and one here, then one behind the tiger grass here. We've got 3 in a row there. That one's a little bit shorter, and John's got his safety boots on, as you can see. Yeah, very funny. So we did a bit of a put and look in the garden. We think this would go well, and it'll create a little grove because it's got some smaller ones. Now we paid the same amount of money for these smaller ones here, and that was from Bunnings, which is a huge, like a chain store, hardware and plant store in Australia, and they dominate the whole industry basically. And there are independent ones, but not many of them. Now that plant, these little plants here, they're already nearly a year old. They were tiny when we got them, and they were about $25 Australian. And this one here, which, okay, it's it's not in perfect condition, but you can see it's got a decent stem. Look at the size of that versus the size of those. And that one was about $25. So to me, that's a much better value than the other ones, which were roughly the same price and are still quite, midget in comparison. The other plant we bought was a Strelitzia Nicolai, or it's commonly named giant bird of paradise. Now, for any of you that have followed my videos, yeah, John's going, hey, start digging here. Well, you can start digging.
Where do you want it?
There.
Where is it? There's a canner here.
Oh, you can dig the canner out. John's impatient to just get it in and get it done. We're going for a walk later on the beach, so he just wants to get the gardening done and dusted. So, yeah, we've got a nice, decent canner tuber there we can replant. So there's a big gap. We've mixed up, once we dug the banana palm out, which was huge. In earlier videos I showed that it was dying because it produced a flower and then it starts to die. And we thought rather than wait for it to look miserable for the next year, we've dug it out. And in the space there that you can see in front, we've got mixed up the soil that was already there with some cow manure. So it's quite a nice rich soil to put into. This will still give a similar sort of effect. It's got tougher leaves. It's like a Mediterranean plant, but it has a tropical look because it gets as it gets older, the leaves get bigger and bigger. So this is just the start. And we thought we wanted to orient it this way, so it sort of fans out from the base there, and you'll create this kind of big fan shape plant in that spot. And if I'll step back further in the garden, you'll be able to see that it'll fit that spot nicely. So you can see that little bird of paradise just in there. So that will look quite good once it gets a lot bigger. And finally, the last plant we bought was commonly known as a cabbage palm. It's very hardy, and we like the low growth that it had on it. So because a lot of the other palms, like bungalow palms, etc., have eventually they'll just have a bare trunk and there's nothing just much to see at lower level. But this one will have the work at the higher level, the fronds at high level. Now here we go. John's now what we were told, this is so pot bound that we were advised that we might need to get a Stanley knife and cut through some of the roots, because otherwise they're just going to keep winding round and round and round and never going to really get out into the soil. I'll come in here so you can see. So you can see, look at all that root work. Wow. So we're just breaking up the pot. It was impossible to get it out of the pot without doing that. And so now have you got the Stanley knife?
No.
No. Oh well. And so what's the plan now? You're going to use those secateurs to,
That's right.
or Stanley knife might be cleaner. I don't know. Let's see how we go with this.
No, get Stanley.
So note the safety boots in the way. And while John's off to do that, I'll pop over here because I forgot that we actually bought 4 plants, not 3. The final one we bought, which we'll plant roughly around in this spot, is a majestic plant, or a Ravina rivularis, and that has slightly different structure to the bungalow palm. It's got probably the leaves are a bit finer, but they seem to have sort of have more of them eventually, and it gets a swollen trunk down the bottom, but that's way too young, you won't see that, but it sort of gets almost like a bottle-y shaped trunk, and we thought that might go nicely in there, and that will eventually grow above the other plants there. So back over to, alright, so the advice we were given from the guy at the palm plantation was to go about a third down the bottom. So you're just going to cut through the bottom third, a bit lower down, and just cut through.
Yeah?
Yes. Yep, and then do it a bit, yeah. Because you can see that the roots are spiralling around, and unless we do that, yeah, don't go any higher than that though. And that one's all right by itself. And we might want to tease the bottom bit. Now I know palms really don't like being have their roots disturbed, but this, if we don't do anything about it, it could just be in that trap where they just literally spiral around and never go out into the soil properly. So that's what we were advised to do. Okay, I think that's enough damage. So the soil in there looks okay. We have a sandy type soil here. Just looking at the
Deep enough?
The depth. John prefers using the pick, or the what is it called? The other end. The pick is the thin end, isn't it? I don't know what you call the rather than a spade. He seems to prefer that
right? Yep.
with our soil. Yeah, I think that looks about right. Now, do we need to turn it around in a particular direction? I'm not sure. I think that's okay. It's looking slightly crooked, but we'll straighten that up.
Yeah, you get it line me up.
And I'll stand back. Now, I'll go show you from the back of the house how it's going to look. So if we're looking out the back window, I'll pop over there now. So this is, you can just see at the top of the, you can see John's bum. And you can just see the top of some of the foliage above the, yeah, I don't know, you can see it waving around there. And there's another shot of John's bum. So he's just going to stomp it in now so that it's firm. But these bungalows can handle like literally hurricane or cyclone winds. We call them cyclones in Australia, basically the same as a hurricane. They have shallow roots, but they seem to be very able to handle really high winds. So, but we still like to stomp it in just to give it a nice. And so there is a bit of movement there, but that's okay. The roots will go out into the soil, and we'll all be good to go. So next, Johnny says he's very I wouldn't say regimented, but the gardener, he just sees it. He loves enjoying looking at it, but when it comes to planting and stuff, I fiddle fart around and I like to go, yeah, what about this, what about that? John's just going, okay, put it here, don't change your mind, let's put it there, blah, blah, blah.
What, middle?
Right in the middle, yep, that'll do. This is the section that was where the big banana palm was. So this is our replacement plant. And you can see it is quite sandy soil.
No, this is the cow manure, isn't it?
But the cow manure, yes, I do remember there was cow manure. And the cow manure was really, it's all composted, so there's no smell to it. It's not going to do any harm at all to the plant. And oh, look at those. Oh, let's have a look at that. Look at that. Wow.
Nice
now
roots.
that's definitely had not going to last much longer in that pot. Oh, it's not pot bound in the sense that it's all spiraling out of. Now just line that up, so just turn it slightly. So this will be fine there. I've grown one of these before in a climate that was still in Adelaide, but slightly colder, and it handles cold weather quite well. Right, I think that looks pretty good.
Yep.
So we'll give them all good water in. we use sea sole, so which is just a brand name for a seaweed liquid that concentrate, and then you just get put it in like about 30 mils or so into, depending on whether you're transplanting or what it is, and you water in the new plants, and it helps the transplant shock, and it sort of supports the root system, etc. So this one here, the cabbage palm, we're looking to put it near the water feature. So we just have to get that one all organised, and I've just popped the water feature on as well. And so that one, which one are we doing first? We're doing the palm first, yep. So we'll pop that in the back. Now that looks a bit all congested there. We've got some Dracaena marginata there, and we've got some cordylines.
Sure?
They all seem to be all taking up their own space. But I think once that palm grows, it'll create its own space, and it'll have room to spread out. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay. Yeah, just want to make sure that it's not completely circling around in a tight circles. Yes, I think the big frond towards the back. So turn it a little bit. Turn it more towards your right. Rotate it, yes. And now let it go and see what it looks like. Okay, that's a bit of a jungle mess there, but I think once that grows a little bit, that will look quite good.
Good job? Yep.
Yep. Okay, yep, I think that's pretty good. Now, I do actually do gardening myself, but when it comes to this, because I like to videotape some of the plants we put in, it's just easier to... John doesn't really know how to do the video thing, so I video, and he plants for him. But I'm perfectly capable of doing all this. I put in all of the bamboo plants, and there's 23 of them. They weren't as big as that when I planted them, of course. But that, yeah, and I did a lot of the setting up of the irrigation with the help of a friend of ours. And then John came along afterwards after I learned how to do it, and we finished it off. So now we've got this is John's favourite from our little garden trip. Now we've got our cabbage palm. Now we're thinking, how close do we go to other ones? Do we go a little bit towards the back? So John's drawing a circle. Yep, and I think you might have to, there's a canna lily right next to it that you might have to dig out. So we'll see how we go. There's cannas everywhere, and a lot of them haven't come up. They've died down completely over winter, and they're just barely struggling out. So he's already pulled out one piece there. And that lower branch is looking a bit burnt. We might just leave it on there for now, but down the track we'll cut it off. This one is apparently a self-cleaning one, which is really good. And so is the Ravina rivularis, the majestic palm, and so are the bungalows. So you don't get that really messy look that you get with some palms. So let's have a look. No, I'd say go forward of the pipe. Yep.
Oh.
So we're going to go forward of the pipe. Oh, another canna. It's in not very good shape. That soil there's looking a bit drier. Yeah. Okay. This palm is very tough though. I believe it's an Australian native. I'm not 100% certain on that. You need the clippers to open the pot on the table. See where that broken pot is, the other broken pot? So that's, yeah, we're going to need to get in there Oh, there we go. There's a name's actually on there. Livingstonia chinensis. It's a Chinese fan palm. Well, I don't think that's an Australian native then, with a name like that. But there you go. It's got that sort of almost like cottony threads coming from the palms. Now, the other danger with this one, and if John can just hold still for a sec, it's got these lovely, vicious-looking spikes along the edges. You can see that along. So that we're just going to have to be careful moving around the garden with that, and also as we plant it. No, what do you need? Your super duper gloves? Okay, what about an old towel? Yeah, now we've got to work out how to get around the viciousness of those spikes to be able to plant the thing safely. So despite the thongs instead of safety shoes, John's going to get something for his hands. So at least he's doing something to ensure some safety. Alright, so now we're in business. Got the safety gloves. And had to hack up. Now, your bum seems to have featured a lot in this video. So John's digging the hole deeper so that the crown of the plant is roughly in line with the surrounding soil, and then I don't know if you saw that, but he threw a little rock. We every time we dig in the garden we get some rocks, so there's a little collection just there of little rocks that come out from digging holes for planting plants. Alright, so I think if you do a quarter turn, just slightly around, like, yeah, in that way direction, yeah, I was just thinking whether that's going to work better. Right, so that's it from Leanne and Adelaide, and the end of another garden project where we've planted a few plants to add a little bit more substance to our tropical style garden. Happy gardening, everybody!